Hello. It's Jake here again, and you're listening to the Simply Street English podcast. So welcome, especially if you're learning English. If you're not learning English and you're just listening, no worries. You're welcome as well. I hope you're all having a really good day so far, whatever you're up to, whether you're running, walking, working, whatever you're doing. Hope you're being nice and relaxed and you're not at all worked up at all. That's great English, Jake. Brilliant. Apologies. I hope you're feeling nice and relaxed because today we're going to have a good look at stress. Okay, so hopefully that hasn't stressed anyone out. Let's get started, right? So, stress affects us all. It's really... Actually, why don't we just take a moment? Yes, I almost forgot to tell you. This podcast will have a transcript that goes along with it, and I'm going to say the first 5 podcasts that I make on this channel, on this podcast, are going to be free. All those transcripts you can go and get from the Patreon link or from my website, simplystreetenglish.com. So if you want to follow along with the words, and it includes a vocabulary list as well, or if you just want to support the podcast, then go check it out on Patreon. Thank you very much. Yes, I understand that wasn't very stress-free, so let's try again. Let's talk about something that affects us all, right? So, stress. And let's try and understand it a little bit. Stress is the body's natural response to challenges or demands in our daily lives, right? And it's obviously triggered by loads of stuff, such as work pressures, relationships, I guess financial concerns also play a part as well. A lot of, we do need a little bit of stress to be motivated, but when it's constant and, excessive, then stress can really lead to a lot of health issues. I looked up a couple of statistics on stress, actually, so some stats on it. Excuse me. In the UK, so where I'm from, they did a study in 2018, and they found that 74% of people felt so stressed that they were overwhelmed or unable to cope at some point in the last year. That was from mentalhealth.org.uk, right? And I don't know how that figure is so low. 74%. To me, I thought that would be way higher. I mean, the reason I'm doing this podcast on stress is because I'm feeling particularly stressed at the minute. There's so much to do, but I still want to find time to do things like this podcast. I really enjoy it, and the occasional interview with people. The reason I'm stressed is because I've got exams at work, which I should be spending a lot of time on, and I'm doing my best, but I still need time to work on my hobbies and go for a run. With that said, I'm stressed because I hurt my back as well, so I couldn't run so much. And I've just got the general things of life, cooking food and all that jazz, to sort out. So I thought, why not do a podcast on stress? So that was a study from the UK. In the United States, right, they did a poll in 2024, so it's a little bit more updated than 2018, right? So 2024, they revealed that 43% of adults felt more anxious than the previous year. And that was with significant concerns about the economy and current events. So it feels like people are becoming more anxious, more stressed, which is it's kind of sad, really. But that just gives you an idea of some of the stats on stress. In English, we've got some synonyms and idioms to help to enrich your English communication. I like that word, enrich, right? La riqueza. Sorry, that's not English. Try again. Riches, enrich your English. So, you've probably heard of some of these synonyms. If you haven't, great. If you have, then I do apologize. I hope it's not causing you any stress. So, anxiety. I mentioned that a minute ago. So that's like that kind of general feeling of worry or unease. You can feel anxious. And it's not nice. You probably know the feeling. I mean, you're just thinking about something like exams or work or things you need to do, and it just gives you that feeling of anxiety. You feel anxious. You feel, I guess you could say nervous, but it's more than nervous, really. It's that anxious feeling. and that puts strain on you, right? So strain is another word for stress. If a material is strained so much, like I don't know, a stick or something, you strain it, you hold it in your hands and you strain it too far, it snaps, and that's the stress or strain. So that's like what a person goes through, that's like what we go through when we do so much stuff. At some point a person snaps, right? And you just need to have a bubble bath or something, just get yourself out of that situation, have a drink of, I don't know, I like hot chocolate, or just eat some chocolate, release the pressure. That's another word for it. Pressure, like you feel that urgent demand, or the kind of the expectations, the pressure, strain, stress. They're all really similar synonyms, right? And a synonym, you probably know this, but if you don't, then a synonym is a word that has the same meaning, more or less the same meaning. So the last synonym I have here is tension. So when something has a lot of tension, it's likely to break. It's got a lot of stress, a lot of tension. Like, imagine a bowstring. So, you know, with a bow and arrow, if you pull back that bow, you're pulling the arrow back, the string has a lot of tension. If you're able to hold the bow and the string at the same time, you'd be able to feel the tension of the string. Yeah, you probably need about 3 or 4 hands to do that. But if someone else is holding it, then you could twang. That's a good word. Twang the bowstring. Twang. Twang. It kind of sounds like the movement, right? So you pluck it with your finger, and there's a lot of tension in there. So there's a new word for you, twang, if you hadn't heard that before. It's actually onomatopoeic as well, so it sounds like the word it describes, but perhaps you need to do a bit more research on that. Onomatopoeia, brilliant word. Got some idiomatic expressions for you as well, right? So as I was thinking about this podcast, I was thinking, what's a good way to describe being stressed? I thought, to be snowed under, right? And so, you know, with snow, it falls down really lightly, or sometimes a lot, like a blizzard, but snow can just fall down, right? And you might not notice it, but after time, it really builds up. And I think that's a brilliant way to describe feeling stressed, because you might not realize everything that's going down in your life. Like, there's so many things happening: work, relationships, stress, cook the dinner, the cat just threw up on the sofa, all this random, I don't know. And you can end up feeling snowed under, as if you were under an avalanche, which just gradually builds up, I suppose. And so you might start to feel overwhelmed with that large amount of work or just general responsibilities. So to use that in a sentence, you'd say, I'm snowed under this week with my assignments. Or, are you okay? I noticed you seemed a little bit snowed under last week, right? Excuse me. So that's another way to use that. You can be at the end of your rope, or I've heard more commonly, be at the end of your tether. Now, a tether is when you have a piece of rope, and I believe it's when it's been tied off, right? I might be wrong about this, but it means the same sort of thing, right? To be at the end of your rope, end of your tether. It's like you can't handle the situation any longer. I don't know where the phrase comes from, because to be at the end of your tether just means like, I've had enough of this, right? So you say it when you are very stressed, and it's a way of expressing that stress. Someone says, how you feeling after working overtime for those, couple of weeks? You say, mate, I'm at the end of my tether. I'm finding it hard. I'm snowed under. So you chuck that one back in again. You could say, I'm at the end of my rope, but I personally haven't heard that one as much as at the end of my tether. If you ask someone a question about how stressed they are, they might bite your head off, right? That's another one. All right, don't bite my head off. It's when someone responds sharply or angrily, and this can be caused by stress. So if you say to someone, hey, how's it going? Do you want a cup of tea? I don't want any tea. I don't like tea. I want coffee. But whoa, slow down. Sorry, don't bite my head off. They might say, I'm sorry I bit your head off earlier. I've been under a lot of pressure. Now, that's a fantastic idiom, which we use so often in the UK. If someone's, who's going to bite your head off if you offer them a cup of tea? I mean, maybe they will, but that is a really good one to use to bite someone's head off. It's a bit crazy because it's not really possible. That's what an idiom is, I guess. But definitely use that one because that is very, very common here. So common. Right, next one. To be burned out, right? You can be exhausted and unmotivated and you're burned out, essentially. You've had prolonged stress, you've had so many deadlines, you've done too much, you've made podcasts, you've run, you've hurt your back. Oh yeah, a bit like me, feeling a little bit burned out. A little bit, right? Just a little bit. But it's good and right once you're feeling burned out to recognise it and go have a cup of tea, hot chocolate, a bath, sleep, and go again the next day, right? So if you're feeling burned out, you've really got to stop. To use that in a sentence, you'd say, I've been feeling really burned out lately, right? Another one we have is under the gun in English. With this project due tomorrow, we're really under the gun. I personally, I've seen this one online. I don't know. I guess we have it, but I haven't heard it very much. One that I've reminded of just now is being under the cosh. You'd say, oh, we're really under the cosh. We've got to get this project finished, man. We're under the cosh. I think a cosh is you hit like a horse with it. I don't know. I actually don't know this. I should probably look that up. But you use that in football as well. You say, Liverpool were under the cosh against Man United. It's probably the other way around these days. But, use it in a football sentence as well, just to show the kind of unrelenting pressure when a team is doing bad. So if your team is doing bad, as in you're doing bad, you're under the cosh. Right, so to use it in a sentence again, you say, I'm feeling so under the cosh lately. I've got too much to do and too little time to do it. So that brings me to the end of our expressions and our idioms, right? I have a question for you. I wonder if you can recall a time when you felt snowed under with tasks. What was the situation and how did you manage it? If you're on YouTube, you could leave a comment here and say, I was feeling really snowed under, burnt out at the end of my tether because of work and we had so many deadlines and it was crazy. If you haven't got a comment section, I don't know where you're supposed to put it. Come over to Patreon maybe. I think you can comment on there as well. Without having to be a member, I think you can just join in. But just use some of those. Yeah, feel free to use some of those expressions or send a text to someone. Just do something. Use some of these expressions to bite someone's head off. Again, love that one. Has anyone ever bitten your head off due to stress? How did you handle it, right? Yeah, there's some really fun ones. As an aside, all of those expressions will be in the transcript and they'll be in the vocabulary list as well. So if you want to check them out, that transcript is actually free because it's the 4th episode, I think. So the 5th up to the 5th one, it's going to be free. So definitely check that out if you're listening to this. If you're here, then you may well want to. That's brilliant. So in the name of stress and relaxing, I'm gonna clock out now. So if you just had a real whistle stop tour on, that just means a quick overview on some ways we talk about stress in the English language, and I hope it enhances your vocabulary and your communication skills, right? So you can express how you feel in those stressful situations a little bit more, right? So thank you for joining me on the Simple Street English podcast. Next week's episode, I'm going to be talking about some fairly common greetings on how to say hello and how to respond to the question, all right? That is honestly so important that you get that right, okay? Right, that's it. I'm going to go and de-stress now. Good to spend time with you all. Keep learning English and thank you for listening.